Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. As we're now on the road to 500 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports content, sports talk, anything from sports betting to updated rankings every week, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. And here today, feels good to be back recording for you guys. I missed the last few days battling a little bit of a head cold. I still tried to record for about 10 to 15 minutes or so, and to say the least, it just was not working for me. Again, if I was able to have if I was having a conversation with somebody and I was kind of able to regroup, kind of collect myself, get myself back together, it'd be one thing. But not really having a set time for my shows. It could be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour or anywhere in between. It just was not going to work for me talking that long. So feels good to be back, feeling a lot better. And yeah, man, let's get right into it here today. Starting off with Tua Tagovailoa getting benched over this week for the Dolphins. It just felt like a long time coming for him, to be honest with you. Not even just the performance he's had this season alone, but between the concussions and the injuries. And he's never necessarily been known, even coming out of college, for having the for having a really good arm. He's just been kind of known as, hey, accurate, can sustain drives, and just keep you in games. And if your team is good around him, or if the team is good around him, can maybe elevate that team a little bit. But he's no Josh Allen. He's not a Mahomes. None of that. He can just be a good pocket passer on his best day. And that's what he was there for a little bit. I mean, being a New England Patriots fan, I can say playing against the Dolphins twice a year, especially when he was first drafted in the first few years of his career, playing against Tua was kind of a nightmare, especially he kind of owned the Patriots, kicked their ass year in and year out. Now, I know the Patriots weren't great to that point, but I mean, they had a year where they made the playoffs there in 2021. And even still, I mean, Miami kind of had his number there. Tua looked really good against the Patriots. And I was like, every time I looked up, whether it was 3rd and 18 or 3rd and 8 or whatever, he's just dropping some throw in the bucket that very few quarterbacks on this earth can make. So I was just like, dude, this guy's legit. And then they built around him, which I give the Dolphins a lot of credit for. They built the Legion of Zoom around him there for a little while. They went and got Tyreek Hill. They went and traded for Bradley Chubb. They got Raheem Mostert, drafted Jalen Waddle. They were just looking like, dude, the future for this team is so bright. You look up, and one of these games they're playing against the Broncos, and they're just kicking their ass like 70 to 28 or something against Russell Wilson. And that's when Sean Payton first got there. It was like, wow, man, this Miami team is ridiculous. It was looking like the future was really bright. And then the injuries, the concussions got to Tua, and we've been seeing it on Monday. Like, Tua in cold weather, this has kind of always been a thing. Not kind of, but it has been. When Tua plays in cold weather, he just is not a sustainable quarterback. He is not playable. I mean, we seen it on Monday. Yeah, they had the last couple of drives where they went and scored touchdowns, but that game was over when that happened. The Steelers were not playing 100%. Like, it was like, hey, yeah, Miami got a touchdown, but at what cost? Or they got a couple of scores, but at what cost? And, you know, we looked up at this team, and it was kind of interesting because we seen the Chiefs get eliminated, and it's like, hey, the Dolphins are on the hunt. They're 6-7 going into this game tonight. Maybe with a chance to go 7-7 and be like a game back from a wild card spot after like a 1-5 start. And people were talking about, like, is Mike McDaniel going to make it to week 8? Or is Tua going to be benched by week 9 or 10? Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of serious question marks for this team. And then we kind of got to where, like, are they going to keep Mike McDaniel? Which, in my opinion, I don't think they should at all. I definitely don't think they are to this point. I mean, it's kind of desperation mode now. Starting Quinn Ewers, and then Tua's the third quarterback, the emergency QB, and Zach Wilson's QB2. And people are kind of questioning, like, why is Zach Wilson not starting? I think we kind of know what we're going to get with Zach Wilson. I think people forget he is just not very good at all. Like, and there's been instances of guys who did not look good throughout the first couple of years of his career. To his credit, he was playing for the New York Jets. But even Sean Payton kind of made some sly remarks like, this kid is not very good at all. Like, he was the third quarterback behind Jarrett Stidham. And look, you drafted Quinn Ewers this year. I mean, mind you, he was like one of the top high school recruits, prospects coming out of high school a few years ago. No, not a few years ago. I guess it was a while ago to this point. But over a lot of really good QBs. And mind you, too, if he were to come out in the draft last year with May and Williams and those guys a few years ago, he was going to be a first-round pick, but he's kind of stayed in college too long, and his value just kind of diminished. And one thing that's kind of an uplifting thing with Quinn Ewers is look at Texas with him and without him this year. I mean, Arch Manning was seen as a pretty considerable upgrade over Quinn Ewers, and they got worse. So maybe there is something there. I mean, if they can go on and they can find some sort of like kind of sustainability there with Quinn Ewers throughout the next couple of years, I think that's definitely a plus. I mean, they drafted him for a reason, right? So, and kind of one of the things is like people were talking about with Tua is like, well, I think they're definitely going to cut him after this year, right? After these next couple of weeks, Tua's going to be cut and looking for somewhere else to play. Whether or not he'll start is kind of up in the air. I guess we'll kind of have to take it by ear throughout these next few months and what some teams are doing. But I think he could definitely get a backup job somewhere. But people are like, well, what's Miami going to do with all this dead salary they got? I mean, all this dead cap. I mean, Tua's digging up a lot of dead cap next year. It's like $50-some million. But then it drops off considerably the year after that. And people are like, well, Miami's doomed if they do that. One instance, and while I do like Denver's front office better, and I do, I mean, they didn't make the playoffs for a long time before last year either. I mean, since Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with them back in 2015, is like, remember when they cut Russell Wilson? And I think they're still eating some of that dead cap up from Russell Wilson. And look at how quickly they turn that around. I mean, if Miami can get like a competent head coach, I mean, they're probably not going to get a Sean Payton. I think Denver traded a first-round pick to get Sean Payton, by the way, as well. They're not going to get a Sean Payton or anything like that. But if you can get someone who's competent, again, if Quinn Ewers or anyone can kind of show they're a competent QB, like, this thing can turn around fast. If they knock out some good drafts, I mean, they fired Chris Greer during the season. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a new day in Miami. They're not going to keep Mike McDaniel. And for one, they shouldn't either. He's not a good culture builder at all. I mean, one of the things, like Vrabel, look at the culture he's built in New England in a matter of like less than a year. I mean, this time last year, Jerod Mayo was the head coach, and the team was just snowballing. They were awful. They were getting worse every week. Like, Mike McDaniel in 5 years hasn't been able to build a culture with Miami at all. And if anything, it's only gotten worse. The thing is with him is, like, players constantly show up late to meetings, show up late to practices, constant turmoil in the locker room, like, kind of weird post-game meetings, press conferences. Like, people just do not take him serious. And if you do not take your head coach serious, you're not going to take anyone serious. Those guys are getting paid millions. They do not care. And especially, like I mentioned, he has no culture building skills there. No one's denying that Mike McDaniel is a fantastic offensive coordinator. And the second he gets fired from Miami, teams will be all over him, trying to get them to be their offensive coordinator, either replacing somebody or they will fire someone to get him as their OC. So he's definitely going to be in work next year. There's no doubt about that. But his head coaching days, at least for now, are done for sure. So it's a new day in Miami. There's no doubt about it there. Between what they tried to build at the Legion of Zoom, they went all in there. Didn't quite work out. And then, you know, just as of recently, they've had just very little success. Tua can't win in cold weather. And when you play in a division where you play against Buffalo, New England, and New York twice a year, what do they all have in common? They play in frigid temperatures this time of year. I live 20, 25 minutes away from Baltimore. And we all kind of share the same weather as up there. And hell, it's even colder up there in Buffalo and New England. And all weekend, and I think part of the reason why I've had a little bit of a head cold is like, it's been like 10 degrees in Pittsburgh, that game on Monday, which, mind you, Acrisure Stadium is an hour, it's like an hour and a half away from me. So we all share the same weather. It is frigid cold. You're not playing in Miami. They'd probably be sweating if they were playing down there on Monday night. Seriously. It is nowhere near the same at all. So, you know, no matter what, Tua is going to struggle there anyway. When you have to play against 6 games a year, you're going to have to play in frigid temps, or I guess they play one of those games at home against those teams. So 3 games a year, if the Police play in frigid temps, and he literally can't win a game, and his arm and the injuries and the concussions have clearly taken a toll on him, it's just over. It's a new day in Miami. So Miami fans, at least you got something to look forward to. Unfortunately, this year, you're not really going to draft high enough to get a big-time QB or anything, but not necessarily going to draft low enough to get, like, maybe a pick in the 20s, but you're probably going to draft maybe 12th or 14th or something like that. So it would be nice to get a bit of a higher pick, but you know, hopefully the future. I think. Meanwhile, it's grim in Miami. I think the future is actually bright. Rams-Seahawks tonight, Thursday Night Football. You could argue this is the biggest game of the year, not just for both teams, but really just in general out of any of the games. This is massive. And all year, I've taken underdogs on primetime, especially Thursday Night Football. And the Seahawks, I'm pretty sure they are the underdogs side. At least the last time I checked, they were against the Rams. This is different than going in and saying Davis Mills and the Houston Texans are going to go beat Buffalo on Thursday Night Football, which, mind you, I did take the Houston Texans in that game, and they did end up winning. I've been all over the dogs in primetime this year, and I'm doing it again tonight on Thursday Night Football. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know the main question with that is like, hey, Sam Darnold, the last couple times he's played the Rams has been atrocious. Even back, you could date it back to Minnesota last year. In that playoff game, it was terrible. I mean, they weren't even in that game at all. And Minnesota was 14-3. And you're like a month and a half or so ago, played against the Rams, threw like 4 interceptions. Mind you, they actually missed the game-winning kick to win that game. I mean, even with the 4 picks, Seattle was right there with them. It was pretty crazy. And I think Seattle at home, which is one of the bigger atmospheres for any sort of fan base in the league. I mean, it's crazy playing there. I remember the days back in the Legion of Boom watching that. And it felt like I was in the stadium watching it in my house. It was so loud. There was points I had to literally turn down my TV because it was so loud. I couldn't hear, whether it was my dad or my brother or whoever sitting across from me on the couch. And it was crazy. So, it is an extremely electric atmosphere. Try saying that 10 times fast. To play in Seattle. And I think this is a big game for Sam Darnold. I think now it's like, hey, calm, collected. It's a big moment. Nerves are running high. I don't care how long Stafford's played for. He's feeling it. This is not only just for whoever I think this game is going to win their division, but for the number 1 seed as well. And this game has big time implications for both teams. And it's like, Stafford, you want to take him because of the experience and all, and he's playing like the MVP of the league right now. He's been fantastic. Devontae Adams is banged up. I don't know if he is playing tonight. I haven't checked the injury report today yet. I'm going to have to check that after this video, but he's banged up. He suffered that hamstring injury last week when they played. So this is tough for LA. And I think losing Devontae Adams is kind of rough, especially if they do not have him tonight. If they do, it'll be nice, but he's not 100% either. And Seattle's defense is pretty fierce. And what's kind of concerning there is, like I mentioned, is they created 4 turnovers against Sam Darnold the last time they played, and they just lost to the game-winning kick. Or Seattle missed the game-winning kick. That's why they won the game, but it was still that close regardless. And I don't think Darnold's going to come in here and throw 4 picks tonight. They're at home. Like I mentioned, I think he's kind of knows what he's seeing now. And LA all year, like that game against San Francisco they had a few months ago where they were just completely injury plagued, lost that game. The Panthers a few weeks ago lost that game. Now this feels different than that because obviously Seattle's healthy and everyone knows they're good, but you kind of have to wonder sometimes. It's like, are they kind of thinking like, hey, we know what we're going to get out of Darnold. The last couple of times we played him, we've kicked his ass. We've kicked whoever he's playing, whether it's Minnesota or Seattle. And I guess the last game they played a few months ago wasn't necessarily an ass kicking, but still, they got the best of Darnold. And it's kind of like, hey, if we just go out there, we know what we're getting with Darnold, we should be okay. And that's right. I don't necessarily think Sam Darnold's going to have one of those crazy turnover games again. And I think the Seattle defense at home is going to get the best of the Rams. So my predictions for this game is I am going to take the Seahawks, the dog, like I've been taking all year on primetime, Thursday Night Football tonight, 35-31 over the Rams. I think this is going to be kind of a shootout, to be honest with you. I don't think there's going to be a lot of turnovers. I think there will be more touchdowns this game than there was last time they played. So I think this is going to be an amazing game tonight. Biggest game of the year, not just for these two teams alone, but maybe in the NFL in general, in terms of the implications it has. So I'm going to grade some of the head coaching hirings this year. 3 in specific, because I've seen a graphic for them, and I was kind of like, God, how do you even grade those like that? So I'm going to grade Vrabel, Cohen, and Ben Johnson. And I think it was on ESPN or SportsCenter, they graded it. The professionals graded it, and they graded Liam Cohen an B plus. Then they graded Ben Johnson. They graded him an A minus, and then they graded Vrabel an A. Well, I'm going to give you guys all my grades just flat out right now. I grade them, every single one of them, an A plus for how bad those organizations were last year and even throughout the last few years in general, and what they've done to those teams in the matter of less than a year. I figure where all of these teams were this time last year. Dog shit. They were some of the worst teams in the league by far. I mean, hell, the Patriots picked 4th overall. I think the Bears had like was it? I think it was the 9th pick or something like that. And the Jags picked Travis Hunter. And I think they had the 2nd overall pick in the draft and traded back. Or no, never mind. They traded up with Cleveland. That's what it was. But I think they had the 5th pick regardless. These teams were awful. And meanwhile, they've had some good off seasons. Kind of constructed the roster pretty well. They do have really talented rosters. And they even did last year. Well, not New England, but Chicago had a good roster last year. Jacksonville, even though Trevor Lawrence was hurt, they still had a pretty good roster for the most part. Maybe not necessarily playoff caliber, but I think it was better than what their records said they were. In the matter of a year, these guys have completely turned it around. Changed the culture. As I mentioned, Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Cohen. I think the most important thing, even beyond play calling on the field, is building a culture for an organization. Because it's not just for the players, it's not just for the coaches, it's for the fan base and everyone else outside of that. You kind of make yourself a threat to every other team. Like, hey, we're not rolling into New England or Jacksonville or Chicago this week and we're going to get a free win. It's like, oh shit, we got to play Vrabel. We got to play Ben Johnson. We got to play guys that are wanting to seriously play for their coaches and are playing really hard. And when they had Gerard Mayo last year, that team was not playing hard for Gerard Mayo. They were awful this time last year. They had his they had his statement for his firing written up 2 weeks before he was fired. I mean, they literally put it up an hour after the game was finished. Gerard Mayo's last game. Doug Peterson, that was a disaster. It started off good with Doug Peterson. They made the playoffs, won a game their first year, but it turned into be really toxic. From whatever reports were coming out of Jacksonville. Reports were coming out of Jacksonville. And Chicago the same. Matt Eberflus got fired, and it only got worse. And it was just awful. And for those guys to step into situations like that and completely change it around, all deserve an A+. And they're all fighting for the number 1 seeds in their conference. The Bears could potentially lock up the NFC North, which is crazy. The Patriots could potentially be locking up the AFC East. Crazy. The Jags could potentially be locking up the AFC South. It's crazy what these guys have done. Cohen, I think, is one of the more underrated guys out of these three. One of the more underrated coaches in the league. I said Jacksonville is one of the most underrated teams in the league. I think they have serious talent. And the way Trevor Lawrence is playing throughout these last few weeks, he's thrown like 10 touchdowns without a pick. I mean, he's on a roll right now, especially when we seen it against the Jets. He ended up getting Steve Wilkes fired the other day. And meanwhile, it is the Jets. It's still an NFL defense. And with the way Trevor Lawrence has played, even against bad defenses, he's kind of thrown a lot of turnovers. He's now kind of trickled that down. He's doing a lot of touchdowns and no picks. So as long as he can stay the way he is, Jacksonville's going to be fantastic. The Bears, I mean, hell, you want to talk about a team that only hasn't been in turmoil throughout the last couple of years. Through pretty much my whole life, and even my parents' life, since like the 84 Bears. I mean, the 85 Bears or whatever. Like, they haven't really ever been good. We had the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman like 20 years ago. Weird as that. But, I mean, you can count a few outlier years with Trubisky, you know, the double doink season. And then they went to the playoffs and played the Saints back in like 2020. But even then, it was like no one really took the Bears serious. They never really felt like they had a serious culture building coach and a seriously good future. It feels like the Bears have a real future ahead of them now. It feels like the Patriots have a real future since the first time Brady left. It feels like the Jags have a real future for the first time in the entirety of the franchise's history. I mean, how incredible has it been for these guys? Young coaches. Ben Johnson, new coach. Liam Cohen, new head coach. Mike Vrabel, we know what he's been before. Hell, he turned Tennessee around. Look at Tennessee, what they've been without him. So these guys all deserve an A+. They've been fantastic. I don't even know how you could grade it any lower than that, to be honest with you. Quick thing I want to go over. Another thing I seen earlier this week, especially after their win against the Dolphins. Are the Steelers, are they a real Super Bowl contender? Are they kind of sneaking in some wins? We know they can beat good teams, but then some weeks they just look piss poor. I don't know if I can call the Steelers a legitimate Super Bowl contender just because I just don't think their offense is good enough. We've seen their offense against a really bad Miami Dolphins defense the other night, and they look great. But we've seen them against Buffalo a few weeks ago. They look terrible out there. And they just, people were chanting fire Mike Tomlin that same night 2 weeks ago. We have to remember something with the Miami Dolphins as well. It's like their defense, especially at the beginning of the year, was historically terrible. And they still are. They're not a good defense whatsoever. They have games where they look okay, but cold weather, when your offense is just not generating anything, the Dolphins defense, and your defense has to the Dolphins defense has to constantly be on the field in cold weather, they're going to wear down really fast. And I'm not making that as an excuse for Pittsburgh, saying, oh, that's the only reason why they won the game, this and that. But it is a real thing. And the one thing with Pittsburgh is we had to see them win a playoff game first. I mean, it's been like 10 years since the team has won a playoff game. Aaron Rodgers, I feel like gives them a better shot than Russell Wilson did last year, than Rudolph, than Pickett, than some of these guys they've had since Big Ben. I mean, I feel like he does give them a way better shot. He's played in Green Bay his whole life. I mean, hell, talking about frigid weather, Green Bay might arguably be worse than Pittsburgh. So he's used to it. And he's also incredibly experienced. And here's one thing as well with guys like Rodgers. It's like, hey, they say he's old. Yeah, he can't move. But his arm talent, anyone can recognize. He still can sling that bill around like no tomorrow. And one of the things is like, one of the problems I had with Tua as well is like guys like that with incredibly pea shooter arms, like guys like Dan Marino, John Elway, they can go out there, they throw an incredibly tight spiral. Brady through all those years playing in Foxborough. There's a reason those guys are so successful playing in cold weather. They throw incredibly tight spirals and have cannons of arms. And hell, look at Aaron Rodgers. He could sit there, he could play until he's 50 years old just slinging that thing all over the place playing in cold weather. That's where he has the advantage over some of those guys in this league, like Tua as an example as well. He doesn't throw a tight spiral, and his arm is just a pea shooter of an arm. So Rodgers, I think he does give them a legit shot. Mind you, one thing too. This Steelers defense is the most expensive defense in the league. They kind of kicked the Dolphins' ass without T.J. Watt. Now that old T.J. Watt situation was actually pretty scary with his lungs. Like. It could have been, apparently it was pretty serious. The media can kind of downplay it a little bit, but it was pretty serious. He did end up missing the game, of course, but he should be back by the end of the year. That's a big part for them. They need him. He makes a ton of strip sacks, big plays. He's their biggest playmaker on offense and defense is TJ Watt. He just can change the entire aspect of the game. I don't care whether or not he looks different from last year or 2 years ago or whatever. He's their biggest playmaker by far. And one thing I do give Pittsburgh is they moved Jalen Ramsey to safety, and he has been a lot better since. I mean, he's been one of the best safeties in the NFL since they switched him. That's made a massive impact on their defense. We've seen it against Baltimore a few weeks ago. We've seen it against Miami on Monday. Since they switched him to safety, it's made a massive difference. So they're making changes, and it's looking like it's definitely made an impact. Hell, remember a few weeks ago when Aaron Rodgers was getting really pissed off at DK Metcalf in the receiving room, they signed Adam Thielen. Again, he's an adult in the room. He's someone who will sit there and continuously watch film day in and day out. And Aaron Rodgers eats that up with a spoon. Even though he may not be making the impact, he may not be an 1,000-yard receiver anymore. Hell, he may not be a 600-yard receiver anymore. His presence alone there brings some sort of a maturity aspect to that receiving room, and he's an adult in the room. Aaron Rodgers is as well. Well, Aaron Rodgers has his bits of controversy as well. We know that throughout the years. He can be a bit temperamental, to say the least, but I think the Adam Thielen signing there was a bit underrated there for the Steelers, to be honest with you. So I think he's made a difference. He's an adult in that receiving room. And ever since that whole situation, how they said they brought a birthday cake to Aaron Rodgers' house on his birthday a few weeks ago to celebrate his birthday and watch film with him. And that offense has kind of been a different unit since. So if they can kind of keep the momentum they have going, and one thing I say for teams this time of year is like teams that get hot this time of year are the most dangerous. And that's why I say maybe teams like New England may maybe peak a little bit too early. And one thing that's kind of scary with Buffalo is like, yeah, they were kind of falling apart a few weeks ago, but they're kind of getting red hot right now. And it's like, this is the scariest time for teams to get red hot is this time of year. So that's something to keep an eye on there. If the Steelers can get hot, maybe they have a chance of winning a playoff game or so. And as long as you can do that, it only takes 3 to get to the Super Bowl. And only 3 against some of the best teams in the league. But there's a chance. Again, Tomlin's your coach. You have a very experienced quarterback, very expensive defense with good names on it. There's a shot. I think they have a better shot than they have in the previous years this year. So, but they have to keep on winning that division because Baltimore's on their heels. I say in a report I kind of just want to talk about really fast is the Bears potentially moving out of Chicago. Let me pull this up real quick. Yeah, it says the Bears are considering moving out of Chicago and moving into Indiana, which I thought was kind of crazy. I was like, is this real? But it's coming from Schefter, ESPN, so this is a real report. And it was saying that the Bears will explore other locations besides Soldier Field, including outside of Cook County, where the team owns a 326-acre property in Arlington Heights, Illinois, to build a domed stadium. And teams are moving to domes. A lot of these new teams, I think that new Bill Stadium is going to be a dome, actually. So makes sense. That includes the possibility of moving the Bears out of Illinois altogether. In addition to Arlington Park, we need to expand our search and critically evaluate opportunities throughout the wider Chicagoland region, including Northwest Indiana. Team president and CEO Kevin Warren said. Now, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, he was pushing back, and a lot of the fan base is pushing back against it for the team moving out of the state. And I will say one thing is like the fan base and hell, even some of the political figures there in Chicago are not happy at all. And hell, I wouldn't be. Here's something. Is like the Miami Dolphins, I know I've been kind of bashing the Dolphins a lot. Like if they were to move from Miami, it wouldn't necessarily have a significant impact because they don't necessarily have a lot of great history in Miami. Now, Miami fans would be probably pretty pissed off. And, you know, I don't necessarily think there's a need to do so. It's an attractive market for teams, for players, warm weather. Players love it. Fans love it. You know, they want to be there. They are an attractive market. Nonetheless, whether or not how successful they've been throughout the last, hell, God knows how long now. Chicago has a lot of history, even though, look, they haven't been good in God knows how long now, but the fan base is ride or die for that team. Like they have a legitimate, like they have their fan base, I mean, in a chokehold, to be honest with you. And it's a good thing as well. They have a very loyal fan base. That's kind of more of what I mean to say. They have an extremely loyal fan base. And now that you're getting some sort of momentum with Caleb Williams, you have Ben Johnson, you have a lot of really young players, I just don't see why this is even like something you're considering to this point. And again, I think with all the momentum you have going on right now, and you have a die-hard fan base, to move to Indiana would be a grave mistake for this team. A lot of people don't remember, and I wasn't alive for this, but I hear my dad talk about it a lot, is like the move for the Baltimore Colts to, I think, God, what were they? They were going to try to move to the Browns, but then I don't necessarily know the whole thing. But let's just say the Baltimore fan base hated it like really bad. When Baltimore didn't have a football team for a long time in the 80s and stuff like that, it apparently was really, really bad. And it rubbed a lot of fans and a lot of people the wrong way when they moved out of the city. And it really sucked. So that's where I kind of feel like it could be like that with Chicago. Like it would rub a lot of fans the wrong way and brew a lot of hatred. Like Baltimore fans for a while hated the Indianapolis Colts. And apparently I think it was the Browns too. Because apparently they were going to be the Baltimore Browns. Again, if anyone knows the story, if you're older than me, man, I'm only 22 years old, but my dad told me the story a lot. I just kind of can't connect all the pieces together, but I do know it for the most part. But yeah, the fan base just really hated it, and then they hated the Colts for a long time, especially when they were the Ravens, when they created the Ravens back in the '90s, early 2000s. So it was just, yeah, this move could have some serious implications on, like, I don't know if you're necessarily going to be able to carry a fan base. Like, if they were to change to the Indiana Bears or whatever the hell it is, like, I don't know, man, that would be really weird. And I don't even know if Indiana fans would rock with that, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know. I don't know what they do. It's just strange. I thought it was a pretty weird report, but I just find it now that, like, you have a bunch of momentum heading in your direction, like positive momentum for the first time in forever for Chicago. Then now all of a sudden this happens, and I know Chicago fans have got to be pissed, because I would be too. It's like, are you serious right now? So another thing I kind of wanted to talk about here, I got a couple of things here before we head out of here. What do the Chiefs do next? Travis Kelce is definitely going to retire after the season. I don't know if you guys seen this clip of him on the podcast. He's not necessarily saying, well, I don't know what we're going to do. He's saying, well, I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do next season. You know, whatever they do, I hope the Chiefs do the right thing by Mahomes. You know, his mind's been out of football throughout the last couple of years now. That's been no secret. Between him with Taylor Swift, and you always see him at derbies and horse races and stuff like, he's just everywhere else besides playing football at this point. He is definitely ready for retirement to live his life with Taylor Swift, and respectfully so. He's lived throughout the prime of his years now. But with the Mahomes injury lingering, and a lot of people saying, well, this team's older, and they have a lot, like, they don't have a lot of cap room either. And it's like, Andy Reid is getting really old, and people kind of are really concerned about his health. So it's like, what do we do? Like, what do the Chiefs do? And I think one of the things they have to do, and I've been saying for years, even during the New England Patriots dynasty, what really ended the dynasty in general, even before Brady leaving, it's one of the real reasons Brady left, is their drafting was awful. And you know, you can sign players, you can do this and that, whether or not you're cash strapped, you can always find a way to make it work. And the Chiefs are kind of cash strapped right now. They're paying a lot of money to certain players. Chris Jones, I think they kind of have to offload, to be honest with you. He's making a lot of money. And I think teams would trade for him and take on that contract, even though he's not necessarily at the peak of his powers anymore. The Chiefs have to knock it out of the park with the draft. You have to draft good younger players that can stay in your franchise for years and that are cheap for 4 years. And that can turn it around really fast and have Patrick Mahomes stay for as long as he wanted to be there. If they do not draft well, this year's draft is going to be very telling for the Chiefs. Because if it goes out there and it turns out to be a disaster, very little impact, Mahomes isn't rushing to come back, which he shouldn't anyway. Take your time coming back from an ACL injury, but he's a competitor. He's going to want to come back as soon as humanly possible. We've been seeing guys all over sports, not even just football, rushing back from ACL injuries. And RG3 was saying, hey, Parsons, Mahomes, do not rush back from ACL injuries. Guys are now trying to shed 3 months off their ACL injuries to come back and play. And it's like, I get it. They're competitors, and they're going to do what they want to do. And those guys are going to be back, especially Mahomes. He will be playing next season. And I just, with Andy Reid's age, it is a little concerning. They feel like they are in a really weird spot. If Andy Reid was 20 years younger, it'd be different. It'd be like, you know what? Maybe we do got a couple of years to spare. Mahomes is in his 30s now, but we see guys play until look at Matt Stafford playing until he's 38 years old and stuff, playing like an MVP. We can still milk another 7, 8, 9 years out of this guy. Not everyone's Brady. We do see guys kind of, drift out at 40 years old and stuff like that, but guys can still play. And everyone's different, of course. Mahomes is a little bit of a different of a play style. But the draft this year, depending on who they sign and what they do, is going to be massive. One, they need to go get a running back, which I'm surprised is what they didn't do during the offseason or during the trade deadline. It felt very weird. Like, the Chiefs were not as aggressive as I thought they'd be, to be honest with you. Like, I kind of feel like, hey, we're going to run it back, and it just didn't work. Like, in the Super Bowl, they got trounced by Philly, and they kind of just were like, hey, we lost in the Super Bowl. We made it there. I believe we can make it there again and kind of run it back. And I get it. You've had a balance of success doing it. But it kind of felt different this year to like, remember one thing with the Chiefs is they were 11-0 in one-score games last year. There was no chance they were going to repeat that this season, and they didn't. They lost a lot of one-score games. And it's like, it would have been like that last season too. If they weren't 11-0, they were 6-5 in one-score games or 5-6. Their season would have been completely different last year. When we talking about the Chiefs, completely different than what we were going into this year. So it's like they tried to run it back. It didn't work. Again, you have to be there's luck on your side when you go 11-0 in a season in one-score games. And they just didn't have that this year. And it clearly showed. And they're going to have to move off of some of these guys and really go out there and try to sign elite players. Again, you kind of want to be careful because you're a little cash strapped, but you just got to hit the draft. I feel like this is a year where they need to reset and really hit the draft, but they're in a weird spot because they have a lot of older players they're paying a lot of money to, and guys that are like kind of didn't perform as well as they thought, that they're paying a lot of money to as well, and are kind of are injury prone as well. So interesting spot for the Chiefs. Just the main thing for me is they just got to nail their drafts, especially this year. It's going to be telling this year. Maybe next year, depending on how many games Mahomes misses, they may end up missing the playoffs again, but we'll see. Again, time will tell. Last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is the Cowboys. Are they a year or two away? Just seeing them after Monday Night Football, they just had a roller coaster of a season. We have times where they just look absolutely fantastic. Like the Cowboys this season, it's like, holy shit. When they beat Philly, it's like they looked great. And then they had games like against Minnesota and then Denver a few months ago. It was like, God, man, this team does not look good at all. Like they don't even look competitive, really. And the one thing is for them is like they're kind of unbalanced. Like their defense has a lot of holes. And that's where I feel like, maybe not a lot. They kind of solved it getting Quentin Williams a pass rusher. And I do like Overshown. They have good linebackers. They just kind of need corner help. They need safety help. They just need defensive help because honestly, I like their offense. They're going to sign Pickens to a back. Pickens is a typical Cowboy. Kind of just loudmouth, runs his mouth. It is what it is. And Jerry Jones, you know what it does? It puts the Cowboys in the media, and he eats that shit up with a spoon, dude. So Jerry Jones is the second the season ends, is going to have pen to paper. Is going to make some sort of contract that George Pickens can't help but put that pen to the paper. And no doubt he'll be a Cowboy next season, even after all the controversial shit. It puts the Cowboys in the media. Jerry Jones, I don't really think he cares what kind of image it gives. He loves it. He just gives them attention. He is an attention-seeking person. There is no doubt about that. Rich, a lot of money, kind of controls a lot over the team. He eats it up. He loves it. So I think the Cowboys, if they have, again, kind of like the Chiefs, if they have a really good draft, the Cowboys, Dak's playing great, good receivers. I like their offensive line. Their running back room wasn't quite as bad as I thought it would be this season. I thought they'd have one of the worst running back rooms in the league, but it actually turned out Javonte Williams has played great. Kind of been the story of his whole career is he just can't really stay healthy, but he stayed healthy this year, which is good for him. So the Cowboys, I think they are potentially a year or two away from really being a really good playoff team, I think. Like, it kind of feels different. Like, a lot of younger guys, they got some juice. Schottenheimer has been a pretty good coach. And I was saying at the beginning of this year, too, is like, people were like, oh, how the hell could you fire or hire Schottenheimer? Like, how could you possibly do this? I was like, can we give this guy a chance? And I think the chances he's been given, the offense has looked great. I mean, he's looked fantastic. So I do think this team could be really competitive in a year or so, but it's been a roller coaster year all year. It's just because they just do not have enough talent on the defensive side of the ball. So they'll get there. I think Jerry Jones is going to make some splash moves for some defensive players this offseason, and as long as they have a good draft, they'll be fine. But that is it for today's episode, y'all. Hope you all enjoyed it again. Apologize for missing the last couple of episodes, the last few days. We'll be right back to it next week of hopefully having a whole week of episodes. I'm sure we will. Or no, because I'm not going to record on Christmas. I don't know about Christmas Eve. I think I am going to manage to get something out on Christmas Eve, but it won't be something on Christmas. But we'll get a lot of episodes out next week regardless. So I got y'all. Appreciate y'all for watching, sticking around. If you haven't, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. And as always, y'all, catch y'all in the next one.